Elden Ring Shadow of the Erdtree is finally here, and it's brutal. Luckily for you guys, I created a build that's guaranteed to slap every enemy in the DLC. Quick shout out to our sponsor, Damn Mods. If you don't have time to grind for items or runes, Damn Mods will help you max out your character incredibly fast. This service works on all platforms, has a 5-star rating on Trustpilot, and can make your experience way more enjoyable. Don't forget to use my code COLDBOY at checkout for up to $100 off. Before I go over the build, I want to warn you of potential spoilers ahead. I didn't include any major boss fights, but I have been exploring the map, so you will see multiple different areas and enemies in the gameplay footage. With this build, you'll be power stancing 2 greatswords. Greatswords are my favorite weapon types in any Souls game because they are versatile and are capable of dealing a lot of poise damage to enemies. The added advantage you receive from power stancing 2 greatswords includes higher DPS, more attacks in the same time frame, and the ability to proc status effects faster. In your right hand, you'll be using the Blasphemous Blade, easily one of the strongest weapons in the entire game, even after the nerfs. This greatsword has high physical attack power, fire damage, and the Taker's Flame Ash of War, which destroys every single enemy in the game. It can kill multiple targets at once, and heals you every time you deal damage. The healing effect is incredibly useful in the DLC since most of the enemies can take away about 75% of your health with a single hit. In your left hand, a Cold Iron Greatsword with the Chilling Mist Ash of War. This Ash of War adds roughly 127 Frost buildup while using the Cold Affinity. This means you can apply Frost buildup and deal fire damage simultaneously. After you apply enough Frost to your targets, they'll actually take 20% extra damage, and when you pair this with the fire damage from the Blasphemous Blade, you'll find it incredibly easy to kill enemies fast. This combination is great because it doesn't limit you to one specific status effect. If you're ever fighting an enemy who is resistant to fire, the frost damage will take them out easily. The same principle also applies with the Cold Iron Greatsword. If you're fighting enemies who are resistant to frost, chances are the fire damage from the Blasphemous Blade will give you the upper hand in battle. Now, you may have already noticed this from the gameplay, but jump attacks play a huge role in the effectiveness of this build. Thanks to the Raptor's Black Feathers chest armor and the Claw Talisman on the build, you'll be stacking 25% extra damage to your jump attacks. This combination is very deadly when you power stance greatswords and deals a lot of poise damage to enemies, opening up more opportunities for critical strikes. In fact, this jump attack is so powerful that it's able to interrupt every single enemy's attack, which is basically increasing your survivability in the process. You're also free to apply any status effect or Ash of War you like to your greatsword, so essentially, this build can be used for every enemy and every single boss. At level 150, your stats will look something like this. 45 Vigor is really all you need, and to be honest, 60 to 70 Vigor isn't going to save you from being two-shotted in the DLC. With 45 Vigor, you'll be able to invest more of your level points into stats that increase your damage output, for example. This build also uses Margot's Great Rune, which compensates for the HP you are sacrificing. Next, 30 Mind. Some people might say that this is too much, but honestly, it just means you can spam Taker's Flame more often and even have FP left over after buffing your character, which can be helpful in the DLC since the enemies are very aggressive and barely give you enough time to even drink a flask. 20 Endurance is just enough for you to equip 2 greatswords, a seal, and the Black Feathers armor before reaching a heavy equipment load. Since the Blasphemous Blade scales with Strength and Faith, I increase my Strength to 40. This will give me more than enough damage for physical attacks for each of my greatswords, and with 62 Faith, I'm able to increase the fire damage for Taker's Flame. Since Faith is the highest stat on the build, you can be very flexible with the incantations you use. In my right hand, I have a fully upgraded Blasphemous Blade. This greatsword was just nerfed in the most recent update, and I can confidently say it is still one of the best weapons in the game. The damage is still there, but you won't be able to knock down enemies anymore, which doesn't really matter since the sword still staggers the enemies and interrupts their attacks. You can see here 434 physical attack power, 338 fire attack power, C tier scaling for strength, and B tier scaling for faith. In my left hand, a fully upgraded Cold Iron Greatsword with the Chilling Mist Ash of War. This Ash of War can freeze almost any enemy as soon as you make contact, which makes it incredibly powerful. 423 physical attack power, 213 magic damage, B tier scaling for strength, and 127 frost buildup. The best sacred seal to use on this build is the Clawmark seal. This seal offers nearly 300 incantation scaling when fully upgraded, scales evenly with strength and faith, and will boost the damage of bestial incantations. The main incantations you need to use on this build are Golden Vow and Flame Grant Me Strength. Golden Vow increases your offense by 15% and your defense by 10%. Flame Grant Me Strength stacks on top of Golden Vow, giving you 20% physical and fire affinity attack power. Any other incantations you use will be personal preference, but if you want a solid recommendation, the Black Blade incantation is great for bosses, since it applies a debuff to enemies and drains their health over time based on the amount of total HP they have. For the armor, I'm using the Black Knife Hood, the Raptor's Black Feathers, and the Page Trousers. The most important armor piece you need on this build is the Raptor's Black Feathers, which increase your jump attack damage by 10%. The first talisman I'm using is the Green Turtle Talisman, which boosts stamina recovery speed. This talisman is essential for landing jump attacks in quick succession. Next, the Claw Talisman, which enhances your jump attack damage by 15%, and yes, this stacks with the Raptor's Black Feathers, giving you a total of 25% extra jump attack damage on the build. I'm also using the Shard of Alexander, which greatly boosts the attack power of skills. This talisman will increase the damage of Taker's Flame and Chilling Mist. And lastly, the Dragon Crest Great Shield Talisman, which enormously boosts physical damage negation. For my Wondrous Physick mix, I'm using the Flame Shrouding Crack tier, which boosts fire damage, and the Stone Barb Crack tier, which makes stance breaking even easier with your dual greatswords. Thank you all so much for watching this video and sticking around until the end. Do me a favor guys, try this build when you start up Shadow of the Erdtree and let me know how it works out for you. I respect about 7 times before realizing I should have just stuck with this build to begin with. High damage, destroys enemy posture, self-healing capabilities, and very reliable Ashes of War. If you want to see the top 3 best Elden Ring beginner builds to help you get overpowered fast, I'll put a link at the top of the screen right now. I highly recommend checking it out. If you enjoyed this video, a thumbs up would be very much appreciated, and if you want to see more Elden Ring content coming soon, don't forget to subscribe and turn on those bell notifications so you're notified every time I drop a new video.